Hello and welcome to the 6th episode of Checkmate Puzzles. So today these should be a little bit more difficult in the 1500 all the way up to the 2500 rating range. So let's see how it goes here. You can follow along with me and solve these puzzles. Just pause at any time if you need to think longer. So in this position we have the pawn must have moved up, checking the black king, and the king moves over to h5. So how do we go about trapping this king here? All right, well, it looks like we have a rook here, but all the rook is doing is kind of blocking the path of the queen. We do have this knight blocking g6 and g4. The pawn is helping cut off g5 here. So, at first I see this move, which may be possible. But this is a little tricky. So g4 attacks the king. The king is forced up here. And then, if we try and check with our bishop, this bishop can capture. So g4 looks good. g4, the king will be forced up into the corner. Then what? How do we continue though? Well, that is the question. So g4, king moves up into the corner, but if we continue chasing the king, he can run back down to here to h5. And then how do we deliver a check after that? Like I said, if the bishop moves down here to e2, then this bishop can just capture. So if we try and check with the rook, we just have a capture by the knight or the pawn. All right. So this is a tricky one here. Maybe we check here immediately with the rook. And if that happens, if the king moves, our knight can mate. So maybe the pawn would block. Then if we capture, then we have a mate with the knight. So let's double check this. Hopefully you found this as well. This one's a little more tricky. So rook to f5, check. What can the king do? His only option is either to run here. But then it's not a mate if we go here, because then the king can run over to here. Wow. Okay, this one is really tricky. We started off with a tough one. All right, rook to f5. Then what? King has to move up. If the king moves up, then then what can we do? If we go here, man, the king could either move back down. No, because the rook is here. So rook checks, king moves up. We go over here and check, but the king can move over to g6, attacking our rook. Then we could go here with a check, and that would be a mate. All right, so rook to f5. What if the pawn blocks? Well, then we go here, check. King is forced to move up, and then we can deliver the mate. All right. Okay, now check, and that should be mate right here. Whew. No wonder that was a tough one. That was a mate in 3+, 2413 rated. All right. Well, on to the next one. It might be harder to get 20 of these problems in, which is what I've been trying to do. All right, h6 is played, leaving a little escape hatch for the king because we were threatening rook to e8 mate here. All right. Well, do we continue with that plan of rook to e8, forcing our opponent into the h7 square? Then our bishop can come up and deliver a check. I think that would work because our opponent could block either with this pawn, no, the f pawn or the g pawn. If they block with this, then we just capture again. And if there's a block here with the g pawn to g6, then we have this bishop firing up through here, and the rook could swing over and deliver a mate over here on h8. All right. Well, hopefully you found that. So rook, then we check, they block, we just continue attacking here, and because of this bishop, we can deliver a mate here. All right, a 2100 rated mate in 3+ there. So on to the next one. The rook has just moved down here, pinning this pawn. Along with this queen, there's a threat of an attack here. Maybe the queen wants to move here and threaten to pick off this pawn with the rook or the queen. All right. Ignoring this, what can we do over here? All right. Well, all right. Looks like another little tricky problem here. So, we have a rook, queen, battery on the 7th rank. We're attacking here, threatening a mate in 1, but the rook is protecting that. So, what else can we do here? How can we put some pressure on our opponent? All right, another tricky one. So if we go up here and they capture, well, I don't know if that will do it. Do we sacrifice the queen? Queen to f7 check. The rook captures. We capture with a pawn with check. The king moves here to block. Well, then we can go ahead and check again. And would that be a mate? Perhaps that's it. So queen to f7 check. Of course, if the king goes in the corner, well, then we just pick off the rook with mate. So black would be forced to capture our queen. Then we capture the pawn with check. Once again, the king can't go in the corner, or we promote with a mate here. So the king would have to block. And then our knight would deliver the mate. All right, there we have it. A 22-31 mate in 3+. On to the next one. Okay. The rook has what? Just captured here. So our rook is pinned. What do we have? Well, we could deliver a check here. If the king captures, we check again. But the king would be able to jump up into the corner. Oh, and then we could deliver a mate here with queen to h5. We would have a block by the bishop, but then we would be able to capture. Now, if we play rook to h7 and the king just moves, and our queen would be able to capture. The king would have to move to here, but then we'd be able to deliver a mate. All right, here we go. Check, check, and then we block, or excuse me, then we go queen to h5 with check. The bishop blocks, and then we capture. All right, another mate in 3+, rated at 2101. On to the next one. All right, the king has just captured, bringing itself down, kind of into the open here. So what can we do? Well, we can't capture here, of course, because the rook and queen are protecting this pawn. We could maybe go up here with a check, but the rook could block. Rook here. Possible. Rook to e5 check. Well, we also have queen to c2 check. So important thing to do when you're looking for checkmates, the first thing is just to look at all the different checks that you can deliver and see if anything's forced. So queen to c2, we're attacking. But, is there a follow-up? If the king moves forward even more, I guess we could check again. But does that achieve anything? The king would have to move back up, then we could go here with the check. And if the king tried to move up even more, I could go here. Then we deliver an attack. This is going to be a tricky one. All right. If we go here, they can block. So that doesn't look like it does too much. If we go here, maybe the king can start escaping. So, I don't know, I'm leaning towards queen to c2 check. Keeps the king from being able to go back up into the corner. If the king comes forward, we can go here with check. Then if the king backs up, we can go rook to e5 check. The king goes back even further. We can deliver a mate there. So if we go check and the king starts to run away, what do we do then? So queen here to c2. If the king runs back that way, what do we do next? All right, well, once again, another tricky one. So queen to c2 check. The king could just run back here. So then what are we looking at? Maybe bringing the rook up here, threatening to bring our queen up here and deliver mate. So the opponent would have to go here to block that. And then what? So maybe, I don't know. See, this is a tough one. Maybe I need to check with the rook first. Rook to e5. If my opponent comes forward, we deliver a mate. If my opponent comes back, then what? We go here. He can block. We can go here. All right, so maybe this is better. Rook to e5. The king cannot move forward, or we deliver a mate here. So the king would have to move back. He could go here to f6 or to g6. So if he goes to g6, so g6 allows us to come down here to c2 and attack. You could go back over. We could go check. All right. It's hard to see, but I'm thinking this is the move. Rook to e5. The king is going to move up if he goes here. If we check on f8, he swings over here. We could come down and deliver a mate. So he's probably going to go here immediately. So rook to e5, king to g6. If we go here and check him, And he runs up this way. We check him again. If he goes here, we can deliver a mate. All right. And then that should do it. All right, an 1891 rated one. That one was a little tougher, so I hope you were able to figure that one out. Let's move on to the next one here. I may only do 10 puzzles today since these are twice as hard as the previous ones, if not, more. Okay, so what did we have here? A capture. All these pieces are swarming around the Black King. We need to figure out how to deliver a mate here. Okay. Well, let's take a look at everything we have pointed at the king here. We have a queen and bishop battery here, a knight. So usually it takes 3 pieces or more to go after a king, unless the king's trapped itself pretty good. Okay, I'm thinking we move the queen. We don't want to go here or the bishop will capture our queen. So queen to b5 delivers a check. The king cannot run anywhere. The queen cannot be captured, so he has to block. He could block with the bishop, we capture the bishop. He blocks with the pawn, we capture the pawn and deliver a mate here. All right. Okay, there we have it, a 23-12 rated checkmate. On to the next one. So hang in there. I hope you're finding these. Please feel free to leave comments, if you would like more easy checkmate puzzles, harder ones, or what I plan to do in the future is just do random puzzles, so it's more like a game, because you never know if there's a checkmate or not in a game or any other tactic. So I'll do my next series. I'll try and do 10 of these and then do 10 in that series of just random tactical problems. All right, and also feel free to like and subscribe for those that haven't already. We have this pawn pushing forward, threatening to promote here. So what can we do? Well, I'm thinking we get ready to deliver a mate, because otherwise we're going to be in trouble. So how do we deliver a mate here? So I mentioned earlier it takes about 3 pieces, and sometimes when you say pieces you mean only not everything except pawns, but here pawns can be included when you're trying to checkmate. So we have a king, we have this pawn cutting off the f2 square. We have a rook here. So king, pawn, and rook must combine together to deliver a mate before this pawn that is about to be promoted can cause problems. I mean, we could go here and try and stop this pawn from promoting, but why not just go for an immediate mate? So we'll go there. The threat is to just move rook to b1 with a mate. So, the opponent has to give up the rook here. Now they promote, but we'll be able to deliver a check. And their only option is to block, and then we deliver this mate here. All right, on to the next one. Problem number 8. We just had a capture. Pawn captured on g5. What do you do here? The obvious move is to just go ahead and capture here. right. But how do we follow that up? So before you just go about attacking, make sure that it actually works, your attack. So what happens after we capture here? Well, the king can move over. The king would probably move here to h7. Then, tricky stuff here. We capture with the check. The king will move over to not h7, h8, because if he goes to h7, there might be this little tricky discovered attack here with the bishop and the attack on the knight. At least on h8, the knight could swing back possibly and block any checks on the h-file by the queen. So, rook takes g5 with check. The king moves over to h8. Do we swing over there? Then the knight could capture us. Queen captures with check. Then our rook is able to swing over and deliver a check. So let's take a look at this. Rook takes on g5 with check. The king moves over to h8. We check. The knight takes. The queen takes, delivering check. The king moves down here to g7. We check with the other rook. King moves up to f6, allowing our queen to swing over. King will have to move to e6, and then our queen can mate on f5. All right, let's see if it works. Okay, a little wrinkle in our plan here. The knight has blocked, but I don't think that matters. We can still capture, then deliver a check. So I think the same thing will still work. Capture, check, rook checks, and they've ended it here because if they move here, we could actually just go here to f5 immediately and deliver a mate. All right, on to problem number 9. We'll do 2 more since these take a little bit longer to figure out. Okay, a3. a3. Threatening to push forward. But the rook is in the way. What can white do here? Well, looks like we can just go for the win. We'll go here, king to g6. The king moves over, we just deliver a mate. If the rook swings over to block, we can still deliver a check and then a mate. So here we go. All right, I hope you found that one. A 1790 rated problem. On to the final one. Okay, the pawn is just pushed forward here as it was under attack by our bishop. But we're not concerned with that. We want to go for the mate here. Okay. Well, what would you do in this position? What pieces do we have that are around the opponent's king? Well, this knight is the closest one. And I'm thinking we have these rooks as well. So pause if you need more time, but if not, I'm thinking knight to e2 check. Now, if the king moves here to h1, we check with a rook, the knight would block. We could sacrifice, well, exchange our rook for the knight. The king would capture, and our other rook would swing over and deliver the mate. If the king moves forward here, we still deliver that check. The knight would have to block, and we attack again, and it would still be a mate. All right, here we go. And, oh, one other block that I didn't see there. So always double check and make sure there aren't any surprises. But luckily, we just capture that piece and deliver the mate here. And the knight cuts off any escape by the king. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed those checkmate puzzles. Feel free to leave comments. Like I said, if there's something you would like to see or something you don't like, whatever. Also, please like and subscribe if you haven't already to support the channel. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.